So, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. After a bit of a break, we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. Unfortunately, what has been a bit of a somber week for the motorsport family as a whole. Um, Firstly, a spectator passed away at a rally in, was it South America?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
There was another, I think it was two other injuries as well.
Mm.
So, not something we
Um,
like to see.
yeah, absolutely not. No one should go to enjoy motorsport and not make it home.
Hmm.
Um, so our thoughts go out to that spectator's family. We were also reminded how closed circuit racing can be equally as dangerous as rally when in the qualifying round for the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, there was a 7-car pile-up into, I believe it was one of the carousels.
Honestly, there's
And
so many corners on that circuit.
yeah, um, it was announced that Juha Mietin, I think it is, had tragically lost his life. Um, we wouldn't normally cover the 24 hours in Nürburgring. Um,
I think we've made exceptions for passing of people before.
yeah,
I don't think we can overlook something
yeah,
such as Meaton passing away and not cover it when we've done similar for other series that we equally don't cover.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, it's it's always a tragedy. I
Yeah,
mean, I know he was older. He was 66, I believe.
mm.
But
Racing at the Nürburgring
it's
for the last 20 years.
it's a testament to his passion for the
Mm,
sport. To enter as, I believe, what they still call it as a gentleman racer.
mm.
Um, at that age, cracking effort. To still be in the qualifiers, you still have to. I believe you still have to get through pre-qualifying, don't you?
I'm not too sure. I know there's a separate series of
Mm,
Nürburgring events, and you need to have a Nürburgring license,
yeah.
but I don't know about qualifying for qualifying.
So, but even to like still be racing in such a high profile event at his age is testament that if you love it, you love it.
Mm. I wasn't watching it
Really.
live, um, but have seen some of the coverage back, and I think the people who follow that series would have known that something was wrong pretty quickly because there was a red flag thrown. And I
Mm.
heard a commentator comment that they only ever see red flags because of weather, never because of a crash.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I saw somebody comment online that they had the sinking feeling that something was wrong because the only reports that they were getting was that A, there was a red flag, and B, there was an ambulance on scene.
yeah. Um,
That's never a good combo. It's
Jimmy
like if
Broadbent,
it's an ambulance, like the
yeah,
medical car is one
that,
thing, but an actual ambulance is a different thing entirely.
Jimmy Broadbent actually has put out a pretty good video on it. He was in the race. He was at the scene of the accident, just in the pile up that was caused by
Mm.
such a crash, waiting to get back to the pits. Um, and he just covers like his thoughts and feelings and stuff on it. They did go racing on the Sunday. I think that's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
I've said that before when we've lost a driver at a race event
It's at the end of the
because
day, it's what they would have wanted.
yeah, we race on in memory of them, and ultimately they passed away doing what they loved,
Mm.
and the best way to honor that memory is to keep racing. Um, would like to touch on the coverage of this
Mm.
incident though.
Yeah.
Uh, there's two big instances of no-nos that I know of from pretty high-profile broadcasters and motorsport media. Um, Max Verstappen happened to be in that race. He's been doing this on the side to his Formula One career this year. We actually covered one of the Nordschleife events very briefly in an episode earlier. when he won the race, but then went on to get disqualified. But the way it was reported by many outlets, Max Verstappen's race halted due to red flag. Driver dies in race featuring Max Verstappen. What has that got to do with anything? Absolutely nothing.
It's a horrid magnifying glass on where the current media is. It's all about engagement. It's all about clicks. It is how many impressions do you get on your article? How many follow throughs do you get on your article? And the way you do that is by slapping the high profile name in it. But I detest the fact that they don't even mention the driver's name in the title. I would be more okay with it. I wouldn't say I'd be great with it, but I'd be more okay with it if, say, for example, one of the articles is titled "Driver Dies After Crash That Stopped Verstappen's Nürburgring Race." Put Juha Miettinen dies after crash that stops Max Verstappen's race. At least mention his name. That's a bare minimum of respect. You shouldn't have to go digging through an article to find the driver's name of the guy that passed away. That should be front and center. That should be the top of the list of things to include. Not some personality from another racing series that is doing this because he's started falling out of love with the one he's in, so he's looking for a way out and something else to do in his downtime. No, give the guy his dues. Give him his respect.
Yeah.
It's disgusting to see so many of these articles, and I know there's a couple of major mainstream motorsports correspondents that have done it, but it's not just them. It is pretty much all media outlets have reported it this way, and it's abhorrent.
The two big ones that I've seen that have been getting major attention on social media, the race and Sky Sports. The push notification that this is how I found out that the driver had died was from the Sky Sports push notification, and it was something like driver dies in Verstappen's Nürburgring race. It's like, what? First of all, the incident didn't. If Verstappen was in the crash, I could understand it a little more. But he was on a completely different part of the circuit. If he was even on the circuit at all, it had nothing to do with him. This is where Sky were even worse, though, because in their summary bit, someone clearly forgot to edit the template, because below the sort of smaller writing, giving a brief overview, like mentioning what happened, was big bold letters. Formula One returns on the 1st of May with the Miami Grand Prix live on Sky Sports. Seriously.
Not the article to put that on.
No.
I know it's probably just the placeholder because it's probably on every single motorsport or Formula One related article that they're currently having to put out in this unexpected spring break. But my God, have some tact, some modicum of decency to just not have that on an article about somebody dying.
Yeah.
Alternatively, Ben's got the only good example we've got of how journalism should be done in this day and age.
Yeah, Ben, tell us.
The BBC have done theirs. It takes 3 paragraphs to mention Verstappen, and they only said that it was extra attention due to his participation, which is true.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the other news outlets have exactly highlighted that.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I happened to stumble upon the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring last year. And I watched it. It was fantastic entertainment. It was just after Le Mans. It was another very good endurance race. But yeah, this year, everybody knows about the 24 Hours of Nürburgring because a 4-time Formula One world champion is participating.
Or is attempting to.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees he is, yeah. Has he qualified?
I think he has.
Who
I
cares?
guess the more than likely he will be, but the race that happened Saturday was a qualifier going to the 24.
And it was null and voided because of the incident.
Yeah.
No classification was awarded. But yeah, it is a very good series, and I would thoroughly suggest going to watch it. Because as Jimmy Broadbent said in his video, the Nürburgring is a fantastic track.
Mm.
It is one of the best racetracks in the world. But
It's a challenge unlike any other.
It's the reason it's called the Green Hell.
Yeah.
And one of them is its difficulty, and the other is, sadly, its danger. No matter how many safety aspects we move forward in motorsport, no track will be 100% safe.
To make the Nürburgring safe, you'd be looking at deforesting many kilometers of woodland, because it's just the topography and the ecology of the area is that of a forest, and the environmentalists would rightly be horrified by the prospect of taking down quite that many trees. If you wanted to add the FIA circuit grade 1 mandated level of runoffs, you'd probably just need to like draw a massive circle around the whole of the Nürburgring, empty out the entire infield, and you might just about have enough space to put enough runoffs in.
And that just then wouldn't be the same track.
It wouldn't. It would lose its soul.
Yeah.
It would be Paul Ricard, but German and very long.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, our thoughts go out to Juha's family and friends and fellow competitors at what would have been a very difficult weekend.
Yeah, that's something that I don't think gets commented on quite enough, is the psychological impact that has on other people in the race at the time. It's been, I think, the most high profile case in recent years that I've seen of it being commented on would be after Hubert's crash.
Yeah.
When I'm blanking on his name, and I really want to say JPM, but it's not JPM because
Juan Manuel Correa.
That's the one. When Correa came back and did an interview about breaking his legs, and the guilt he felt from that collision, because ultimately it was the impact that his car made with Hubert's that was the big factor in it. But there was nothing he could do about that.
No.
But that still didn't stop him feeling guilty about it. And it's something that I don't think gets enough light. And I think Correa should get the praise he gets for speaking so openly about it. But I think there also needs to be that sort of, because I know in Formula One there probably is, right? You've got coaches for every aspect of everything. So a mental health advocate and a mental health support team is probably a key part of every Formula One team now. But in a series like the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, where let's be honest, the funding isn't the same as that of a Formula One team, is every driver going to have that opportunity?
Probably not.
Well, you just tell from the categories that are in. We obviously spoke about it. Would have been for like maybe the last 2 years. There's the famous Dacia that goes around there. And you think that's got like the same funding as like, say, Team Verstappen, for example.
Yeah.
They probably have 3 mechanics for like the whole weekend and that's it. And it's mental, and it's this like fairy tale story to why it's so good. So it's obviously going to be difficult for them.
And the amount of mental strength it would have taken for those drivers to step back in that car, zip up their overalls and put the helmet on the Sunday, not even 24 hours removed, because the race happened at night as well.
Yeah.
as part of the 24-hour qualifying. It was the evening section where it's basically to test, can your drivers drive in the dark? And that's when it happened. So to be not even 24 hours removed and to go racing again, kudos to those other drivers that got back in the car. But as we say, we race on not in spite of memory, but to honour it.
Now, obviously, this is something I don't know, but it's something I would like to potentially receive clarification on. Is that I think this would be a great time for the FIA to do their thing and be like, we can provide support for the other drivers involved in terms of counselling and this and that and the other. That I think that should be part of what the FIA is about.
Yeah.
Because we know that injuries and death are an inherent risk in this sport. As rare as they have become, thankfully, over recent years, it is still an inherent risk. We cannot remove that entirely. And I think, therefore, it should be the FIA's duty of care, for want of a better term, to look after every member in every subsection of the FIA. Be that a driver, be that a mechanic in a team. I think in this situation, there is a duty of care there, and I'd hope beyond hope that this is something that has happened and it happens behind closed doors and it's just in private emails that like we understand. We're sorry to hear about this news. Blah 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 blah. These are the people you can contact for these services. I'd like to think that that's what's happened, but
I don't know. I think the only sticky thing is it's not like an FIA event the way it. Well, sorry, it's not an FIA championship.
Yes,
the way, like, say, Formula 1, Formula 2 and stuff is. But they will still have support from the FIA, as I believe almost any major motorsport does. But yeah, that probably will have been done behind closed doors, I guess. We'll never really know on that one unless someone comes out to talk about it.
Or unless one of us manages to get a job in motorsport and somebody else dies and we get the email.
Pretty much.
I'd like to say the first. I'd like to say the first part would happen, not necessarily the second part.
Shall we move to the other news of the week then?
Absolutely.
We'll start off with breaking news from the world of Formula 1. I suppose it won't be breaking by the time you watch this episode, but it was for us. Refinements to the F1 technical regulations have been announced for the remainder of the 2026 season.
Or until the next time they review it.
Yeah.
For the summer break.
Well, yeah, true. That is the next opportunity.
Agreed will be implemented immediately at the upcoming Miami Grand Prix. With the exception of the changes to the race start, which will be reviewed. They will be used in Miami, but they're not becoming regulation yet.
Right, okay. Interesting.
So, they focus on 4 main parts: qualifying, the race starts, and wet conditions. So, in qualifying, the maximum permitted recharge of the battery has been reduced by 1 megajoule from 8 to 7 to reduce excess harvesting and encourage more consistent flat-out driving. The peak super clip has been increased from 250 kilowatts to 350, meaning when the super clip, it should be for less time.
Yeah.
So the cars may yo-yo in speed a little more, but it doesn't take as long for them to recharge the batteries.
It's a positive-ish move, isn't it? It was one of the things that was originally suggested, so it's good to see that was on the money.
One more.
The logic is sound, right? But we'll see.
Yeah. One more thing for qualifying. The number of events where alternative lower energy limits may apply, like we've seen in Japan, where they had already lowered it to 7 megajoule. 7. Will now apply in 12 up to 12 races as opposed to 8 at the start of the season,
Money's on
allowing
Monaco.
more flexibility. Yeah,
Money's on Monaco. You're not allowed any recharge. That's it.
Silverstone, I
One and
think,
done.
as well might get some.
Do you reckon it's going to be the power hungry circuits?
Yeah, pretty much.
So everything that we outlined previously.
Yep.
It's interesting that it's now 12, which is pretty
Interesting.
much half the calendar.
Yeah.
That's rough.
It doesn't mean that they will do it in 12
It
races.
means they have the
Giving
option.
them scope to do it in 12.
Yeah.
Would you not just say that for like every single possible race left though?
I think the only
Because
one
it's
that gets
obviously
away with
gonna
it is
be-
Hungary. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
you can leave Hungary alone.
Yeah.
And
But it's
there's
obviously gonna
the biggest question mark is the Mad Ring.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to get there, I suppose.
So they will probably, this is pure speculation at this point, but they will probably just leave that as a standard because there is no data. And why would you fuck with something where you don't even have a baseline? Create a baseline, deal with it next year.
Pretty much. The race, improved safety and consistency of performance is what they're after. The maximum power available through boost in race conditions is now capped at an extra 150 kilowatts or the car's current power level at activation if it's already higher, limiting sudden performance differentials. MG UK deployment is maintained at 350 kilowatts in key acceleration zones, so from corner exit to braking point, including overtaking zones, but will be limited to 250 kilowatts in other parts of the lap. So you'll be able to get more power on corner exit, but once you leave that exit, if you're on a straight, then it'll throttle back a little. And these are designed to reduce excessive closing speeds while maintaining overtaking opportunities and overall performance characteristics to avoid what we saw in Japan. Race starts. A new low power start detection system has been developed, which can identify cars with abnormally low acceleration shortly after clutch release.
The Kimi Antonelli clause.
Yes. If that happens, an automatic MG UK deployment will be triggered to ensure a minimum level of acceleration and mitigate start-related risks without introducing any sporting advantage.
That is an incredibly fine line to be treading.
Yeah.
I didn't like this when I first read it, and then I read the end bit, and I liked it even less.
We'll come to that in a moment.
Yeah.
An associated visual warning system is being introduced, activating the flashing lights, the rear and lateral on affected cars to alert following drivers. So essentially the tail lights will start going off their nut if you stall. And a reset of the energy counter at the start of the formation lap has been implemented to correct a previously identified system inconsistency.
Whatever that means.
My only guess is that essentially they shouldn't have been discharging the battery on the formation lap, or it's been getting discharged too quickly or whatever.
Is this what
And
we
so
think
now-
the George and Kimi didn't have any battery to deploy situation is? Because yet another Mercedes biased thing. Ooh.
But I think this is the FIA admitting it's our software that's wrong. So we're going to implement a fix for all the teams.
Can't wait for Ferrari to absolutely fucking cannon out of the start even faster now.
Oh yeah. And then wet conditions, tire blanket.
Can you imagine if all of these Ferrari starts and they're still shit and have flashing lights at the back?
Ferrari's
Just
gapped
Lewis
everyone, but actually
right,
still
yeah.
in low power mode.
Tire blanket temperature for inters has been increased following driver feedback. When did we get this feedback? We haven't used the inter tire yet.
That is exactly my point. Why are there wet weather changes when we've seen exactly fuck all wet weather so far?
There was a Haas that used it at Spain, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
I
did
think.
it even fucking rain?
No, it was dry.
No,
It's completely dry.
exactly. So why do we need a blanket for dry conditions on an intermediate tire? You don't even
Yeah.
need the intermediate tire.
That's like, I was just backing up the one example that I've got of intermediate tires being used this year.
And even then, that's testing, so that doesn't even count.
Exactly.
Maximum ERS deployment will be reduced, limiting torque and improving car control in low grip conditions.
That does
Essentially,
actually make sense.
disabling
Boo.
DRS.
Skill issue.
And
Yeah.
the rear light systems have been simplified with clearer and more consistent visual cues to improve visibility and reaction time for following drivers in poor conditions.
Do you reckon they're going to get like the sign that the police have that say like "Follow me"?
Shit's fucked.
Do not pass.
I have crashed. Just see somebody's like lost the front right suspension or something, and has therefore just carried off into the corner. So you just see the arse end of the car sticking out of the barrier, and it just says, "I have crashed."
These proposals will now go to a World Motorsport Council e-vote with a view to implementation before the Miami Grand Prix on May 3rd, except for the race start proposals, which will be tested and analysed during that weekend. So I imagine they won't use it during the actual race or the sprint. They will use it in free practice, and that's about it.
We don't know. I am concerned, we'll say, about the race start system, specifically the automatic MGUK deployment. There's a section of the regulations that Martin Brundle brought up recently when Lando Norris said in an interview that he felt like the car made him overtake Lewis Hamilton at various points of the Japanese Grand Prix. And the regulation Martin brought up was the fact that the driver must drive the car alone and unaided. This automatic MGUK deployment seems to be leaning more towards the aided. And if we're going to do that, then fuck it. Why did we ever ban that Williams with active suspension in the 90s? Bring it back. It's
Where's traction control gone?
Exactly. It's getting dangerously close to driver aids, which is not what the sport has been about. I understand it from a safety point, right? You don't want a slow-moving car on the grid when we end up with another Franco Colapinto moment, right? We got lucky that time.
Yeah.
We probably wouldn't if you ran that back another 6 or 7 times. We'd probably end up with a crash on more occasions than we wouldn't. So I can understand it from a safety point, but from a regulation standpoint, this one is more iffy than any of the other points that they've proposed.
I guess we'll see. They'll probably go into more detail on it.
It will entirely depend on how much this MGUK assistance is, right? Because if it is as Charles Leclerc described, a mushroom in Mario Kart, then everyone's just going to try and deliberately stall and get a boost. But if it is you're moving slowly and here's a little bit so that the car in front of you doesn't reach the point that you're at before, like within a second or so.
Before you leave.
Yeah. Because the grid spaces are like 4 meters staggered, so the guy behind you's like 8 meters behind. So, you know, if you can do some maths equation to say that if we give you enough boost to get you up to a speed that the guy behind you isn't going to arse end you, then that's okay. As if it's like just about avoiding a collision sort of levels and not about you can now make an overtake because you've been boosted, then that's fine. As long as you're probably still going backwards because you fucked the start, then I think it's fine. If you manage to maintain position, you know, that's take it or leave it, you know. But if you're actively going forwards, even though you got a shit start, this system will need to be reviewed / removed.
Yeah. Other big news from our week off in the world of Formula One. Giampiero Lambiase is leaving Red Bull and will join McLaren in 2028.
I've seen some really interesting news articles on that because they said 2028 at the latest.
Mm,
That is something I have never seen before on a contract announcement
yeah,
article, which
it's
makes
very
me believe this is tied to Max Verstappen's future.
potentially, or I think they might just be a little worried at how much gardening leave Red Bull are going to slap on them, and they didn't know yet.
Also a valid option, but I'm leaning more towards if Max Verstappen decides to step away from the sport for 2027, Giampiero Lambiase has the option to
Mm.
jump ship early instead of getting some new Red Bull driver in, having them for a year, and then they
then
have to
leaving.
get a new race engineer anyway. It would logistically make sense because you'd rather have a pairing that you know is going to be at least long term. I know this is Red Bull, so it's a revolving door, but at least the race engineer has been consistent for the most part. So I can see it going both ways. It's is Max Verstappen still driving, and how much gardening leave does he need?
Mm.
Is it 3 months, in
And-
which case he could go at the end of 2027, miss the last 2 rounds, or
Something like
just
that.
start slightly later into the year in 2028 or whenever it was, so that they can have their final goodbye on the team radio in Abu Dhabi, because that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just start on March the 1st.
Um,
Pretty easy job there.
Lance Stroll went to take part in the GT World Championship, World Challenge at Paul Ricard. They qualified P15 and were then handed a 465-second penalty, dropping them to last.
Can we just say that the P15, that was out
Yeah,
of
that's bad
18,
enough.
18 entries in that category.
Mm.
There was a lot of
Wasn't
track
it?
limits penalties on that. I saw the breakdown. Admittedly, we can't blame all of it on Lance Stroll. There was plenty that was for the other drivers on the team. But equally, Lance Stroll did also add to the pile. So
The final
He got
result
1
was
minute of penalties due to blue flags. He should know about blue flags by now.
yeah.
he really should.
The
From home,
final
that series.
result was P16 out of 18 in their class. P48 overall, 5 laps behind P47 and 12 laps behind the leader.
Jesus. That's rough.
Oops.
Oops.
What else do we have?
Red Bull
Red
restructure.
Bull are restructuring, yes.
Big
I'm just
time.
going through the tabs.
Yeah.
Let me find the statement.
Oh, I've got it here.
Have you got it?
Yeah, so effective immediately, this is as of April 17th. Ben Waterhouse is assuming an expanded leadership role as Chief Performance and Design Engineer, with overarching responsibility across design and vehicle performance. He will report directly to Pierre Vache. Blah, blah, blah. He first joined as this, that, and the other. From July the 1st, Andrea Landi will join as head of performance, reporting to Ben. Andrea was previously the deputy head of vehicle performance at Ferrari and deputy technical director at VCARB. Yeah, interesting changes. It's not really the spearhead signing they need. You need a big name. It's been almost a one-way swing in the door, and that's been majority towards the exit. It's a problem. They need
Yes.
to solve something, especially if the rumours are to be believed that they won't be getting any additional points for development of their power unit because their power unit falls within 2% of Mercedes. It's just that their battery's a bit shit.
Yeah.
That is rough.
Um,
That is just. I didn't realise it was based solely on the ICE portion of the
Yeah.
engine. I thought it was a combo. So the fact that the Red Bull ICE is that close to Mercedes, it's the car. That is rough. But also a testament to the great work that Adrian Newey has been doing for that team for the last 20 years.
pretty much. And then finally, last rumour, and to be fair, last sort of item of this week's episode. There is a rumour that they're going to reschedule the Saudi Arabian and Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, slotting in
I called
Saudi
this.
Arabia for the slot that Abu Dhabi currently has and postponing Abu Dhabi by a week.
If this happens, call me the Messiah, because I predicted this.
I don't see this happening, only because of the logistical problems that delaying Abu Dhabi will have when we're already like mid-season.
Does it though? We're still 8 months away from December.
More thinking in terms of sponsors, fans.
I'm sure a cheeky little payout will be more than enough. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. When we get an extra race right before the end of the season, I don't think anyone's really going to complain. In terms from a sponsorship point of view, I will complain because it means we have to have Saudi Arabia again. But I would also like to point that I predicted that it would be only Saudi Arabia that came back and not Bahrain.
Which is a shame because Bahrain is
It's
undoubtedly
better.
the better circuit.
Yeah.
But Saudi Arabia is so deep in MBS's pockets. It's ridiculous.
Those 2 rounds are still missing from the Formula One website.
Yes.
Not even mentioned.
I would like to state how funny it is in terms of how this rumour has been, like, sort of unearthed. It's all about hotels.
Yeah.
So originally, if you were to book a hotel in Saudi Arabia, specifically in Jeddah, the weekend of what is currently scheduled as the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, if you'd booked that a couple of months ago, fine, plenty of availability. You try and book that last week, it's fully booked. There's nothing else scheduled in Jeddah for that weekend. There's no major events, nothing whatsoever is going on. So the only thing there is a potential reschedule of the Formula One race, which is, if these rumours are to be believed, crazy. We've never seen the postponement of a season finale for the sake of re-adding a cancelled race. There is also still no guarantee either of them will be able to happen. Because I think, I don't know how long they dare leave it, but I think the FIA/Formula One are waiting for the kerfuffle to die down because they don't want to announce the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix coming back
and
to then have to cancel it again, because that would be major egg on face. I think they would rather just cancel Abu Dhabi and go blame these people than have to go, hey, we brought it back, but actually it's still kind of fucked. So party in Vegas?
Time will tell on that one, really. And that brings us to an end of this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. Join us next week where it is finally once again race week. And
it's over.
But unfortunately it's in Miami.
At this point, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm desperate. Okay, I'm desperate.
Jesus.
We'll talk about it anyway. But until then, join us next week for the Miami Grand Prix preview. We will see you next time. Ciao for now.